What if there's been one way that you've been coaching athletes to do something, and the entire time there's been another way, and you've actually been saying not to do that something? One of the purposes of this channel is to always explore new ideas and different ways of coaching and making sure we're getting the best out of our athletes on Friday nights. And in this video today, we're going to talk about putting your hands on your head versus on your knees when you're recovering and trying to get your heart rate down. Hey coaches, Coach Martens here. Thank you for joining me on my channel. This channel is dedicated to coaches seeking out ways to help their athletes perform their best on Friday nights. We all have stories from a long time ago when we're running our sprints, we're doing our conditioning and practice, and that coach says, put your hands on your head, put your hands up on your head. Everybody's got that. In fact, it's absolutely blowing up on Twitter right now. JJ Watt posted it. There's a bunch of people that posted, I want an explanation from my coach. And I think most times the explanation is that that's what my coach did, and that's what the coach before me did. So I think that's something that we need to continue to consider when in our own coaching practices. A couple of years ago, my strength coach and I came across an article that was 109 pages, and it was pointed to us at a clinic, and we looked into it, and it was talking about putting your hands on your knees for recovery. And we really wanted to put that to the test because, again, that went against everything we've ever known. We ourselves, we told our athletes, put your hands above your head because that's what we were taught. So that's something that I think we need to explore today. One thing that also drew us to this article was the fact that it also paired with the book called Oxygen Advantage that we had both just got done reading. Oxygen Advantage talks about the benefits of oxygen on an athlete and also talks about the noses are for breathing, mouths are for eating. Well, if we can combine the two, hands on head, hands on knees versus breathing through the nose, breathing through the mouth, we really wanted to see what the ultimate recovery position was. So as we look at this data here, one disclaimer, we're not scientists here. We're not looking to, this obviously is not enough to justify the entire 109-page article. You'd have to read that to get their findings. But this is just two coaches that are interested in exploring the best possible coaching practices for kids. So when we look at this data, what we did, we broke this down, and there were 3 different activities we had them do. Just the standard dynamic warm-up, some speed rope, and your traditional gassers. And we had the kids monitor their heart rates, and we broke them up into 3 different groups. Displayed here, I only have their graduating years. I have their names here. I don't want to reveal that for privacy of the kids. But we broke them up into groups, and we tried to balance the evenly between seniors, juniors, sophomores, and even numbers among the groups. And we really looked to find that average change. So we had the kids initially report what was their heart rate immediately following that activity, and then after the recovery intervention. So the hands on the head group, the hands on the knees group, the nasal breathing group, or the mouth breathing group. So each of the colors represent those things, and I have those broken down over here. So the orange group, that's my hands over head group, and that's with mouth breathing. The hands on the knees group, that's the green group. The yellow is hands over head, but they're breathing through their nose. And then the blue group is hands on the knees, but they're breathing through their nose. So really, they were trying to test kind of two variables, I guess, here. Which again, keep in mind, we're not scientists here. I am a math teacher, so I've got a solid understanding of statistics here. But we looked at it, and then what we did was we calculated the difference from the before and the after, and all of them obviously were in the same time frame. We tested, and then we subtracted to find the difference in the heart rates. And then we divided that by the original and found the percent change. And we wanted to see what was that percent change from A to B of athletes. We eliminated athletes from the equation that either didn't report or whatever it might be. We eliminated those athletes. And we did that for 3 groups. So this was group 1, group 2, group 3, spread it out throughout the day. And that was just based on school scheduling. And here's what we found. So we took all that data and we put that in just kind of, I'll put it side by side here so you can see. But group 1, here's what we found. So we took their average heart rate reduction and then the percentage compared to the original, and then we just ranked them. And it turns out, and there you can see some themes here, and we found some interesting things. So looking at this blue group, which was the hands on the knees with nasal breathing, came in first for 2 groups and then second for the other for that 3rd group. And the other interesting one was looking at hands on the knees, came in second and first and third, but kind of averaging things out. And I know there's all kinds of ways to analyze numbers and look at things. But what emerged was the two that came out on top were the green and the blue group, which were hands on the knees. So we were kind of intrigued, and it kind of looked like, the nasal breathing component wasn't really a huge factor, but kind of did steer us towards that idea that maybe hands on the knees is in fact the best way to recover. So I know a lot of people are thinking, well, so what? It's just recovery. After practice, they have plenty of time to get back the next day, and I think that's something that everybody's thinking about. But as coaches, we got to challenge ourselves to find ways that we can use this information to our advantage. And one way that I've thought about this, and this is not, again, this channel is not about scheme, and I would love to sit and talk football and scheme and X's and O's with just as much as anybody else. But something that I think is important to think about is in between plays. That's really your recovery time. And a lot of people think, okay, 6 seconds on, 40 seconds, or 25, depending on the play clock. That's your recovery time. So a lot of people train that way. But now how can we take advantage of this fact that the body gets the heart rate down faster in this hands on knees position? So let's think about this. If you're a huddle team, I know exactly how I would huddle. Again, a lot of people hold hands. There's all kinds of ways to huddle. So one thing that I think is important to consider, years ago, we actually eliminated the hands on the knee huddle with the lineman in front and the receivers behind for the purpose and the intent that, well, if hands above head is a better breathing position, why are we huddling that way? So those conflict. And now knowing this information, if I'm a huddle team, I know exactly how I'm huddling. I'm going to have hands on knees, linemen down in that position exactly the way that the data says people recover better in. If you're a no huddle team, how can we bring this fact into our no huddle system? If our linemen, I know exactly how I want my linemen sitting. I want hands on knees to get some oxygen until they get that play in. And once they know the play, I'm back. And if you're a 2-point stance or a 3-point stance, that's up to you. But how can we get their heart rates back down just to get that slight competitive edge? What if it gives you that 1% edge over the opponent? It's worth it. Why wouldn't you do it that way? If you're a hurry up, no huddle team where you're right to the line of scrimmage, every second is going to make a difference. Get that oxygen, get that breathing, get that air in. Okay, now I'm back. If you're a check with me team, now you can take advantage of that twice. You have 2 opportunities to get that heart rate down. So these are all different things that you can do to find ways to take these facts, to take these little snippets, and if every little thing gives you that extra bonus, it's worth it. So some things I think we need to take away from this, and again, we recognize that this is not the science to support that article that's been floating around, but it is kind of our own, and that's I think major point number 1 is that you can't be afraid to test things yourself. And don't take things that you've always had as fact. Remember that everything that's ever been passed along is exactly that. It's been passed along. Someone was in position to put their stamp of approval and say, yep, this is true or this is false. So test things for yourself, and we've got to find out what works for our own programs. And everybody's programs are different. Everybody's locations, everybody's kids, everybody's cultures, they're all different. So you got to find what works for you. And you never know what else is out there. And I think that's the big question that this channel is really driven towards finding is what else is out there. And that's something that I'm just passionate about finding. If you liked what I had to say today, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so that you're informed when new content comes out. And make sure that you make every decision so that your athletes produce their best performances on game days.